because there's so much hype around your She-Hulk appearance. I'm seeing a lot of discourse around like hardcore Daredevil fans going like, "What is Murdoch going to do in this comedy?" As if he has no sense of humor.
Right.
Which I would love to hear your opinion on, because we know that's not true. What has been your reaction to She-Hulk so far, in the tone they've taken with it?
When I read the She-Hulk scripts, one thing that I felt like I knew I was doing 1 or 2 episodes in the She-Hulk show, and I read the scripts, and tonally it's completely different from anything we've ever done. But it's, I feel like I've played this character long enough to have earned the opportunity to experiment for 1 episode. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But not knowing what the tone of our show was going to be, but knowing that we're on Disney Plus and therefore it could be.
Daredevil is making his long-awaited return, and Charlie Cox has had enough of Disney's circus act. That's right, Cox is finally speaking out, assuring fans that Daredevil, Born Again, will scrap the cringeworthy rom-com antics from She-Hulk and bring back the gritty, no-nonsense hero we know and love. Meanwhile, Disney is in full-blown panic mode after She-Hulk's disastrous portrayal of Matt Murdock tanked fan goodwill. With Marvel desperate to repair the damage, this new series could be the studio's last chance to redeem Daredevil, or the final nail in the MCU's coffin.
Oh, you pop up She-Hulk in a great cameo, and Matt is having more success in his love life now than ever before.
It depends how you define success, but okay.
That's true. How do you feel about that? Can you talk about working with Tatiana Maslany?
Yeah, so I can certainly speak about Tatiana. I think she's one of the great actors of our generation. And so, such a thrill to work with her. She's so fun. She made everything so fun and easy, and it was fun for me because having played this character for a number of years at that point, and there was an opportunity with She-Hulk. When I read the script, I was like, well, this is a really good opportunity to have a little bit more fun with the character, and I think it's important to honor the tone of the show that you're in, not just the.
Real insult that sent fans into a frenzy. Daredevil, once the embodiment of grit and perseverance, was reduced to a cheap joke, stumbling barefoot in broad daylight after a one-night stand. This wasn't just bad writing, it was a betrayal of everything Daredevil stood for. Fans watched in horror as Disney stripped away the character's depth, replacing it with sitcom antics that felt like a slap in the face. Now, with Daredevil, Born Again, Marvel is scrambling to undo the damage, but the question remains, can they actually revive what made the show special? Or is this just another desperate attempt to win back an audience that's already moved on? Of everything that had made Daredevil one of Marvel's most respected adaptations, instead of the brooding, conflicted hero who wrestled with his morality, fans got a watered-down, quippy caricature. The intense emotional weight that defined his character was tossed aside for cheap laughs, turning a once-revered figure into just another cog in Marvel's increasingly formulaic, humor-driven machine. It wasn't just about one bad scene. It was a symptom of a larger problem, a clear sign that Marvel was more interested in chasing fleeting social media moments than respecting the integrity of their heroes.
In the Daredevil that I portrayed in the Daredevil show and put him in She-Hulk, he might have been like the butt of the joke a little bit. He was overly serious and stuff. So I thought it was A, important, but B, also kind of a good experiment to have him be a little lighthearted, and also just like when in LA, just maybe just like let loose a little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
So no, it was just awesome. It was an awesome experience, and I think most people like it.
Yeah, it was
Occasionally you get people who really don't like it, and like some people, especially some very religious people, don't like the walk of shame, which I think is kind of funny.
It's crazy. Matt's a crazy religious dude.
Yeah, he doesn't always act like one. Yeah.
And that's where Marvel's real challenge begins. It's not just about fixing Daredevil. It's about proving they can still tell grounded, character-driven stories in an era where spectacle and quips have taken priority over substance. Fans aren't asking for much. They just want the Daredevil they fell in love with, the one who fought for justice, wrestled with his demons, and endured brutal, high-stakes battles that left real scars. But can Marvel deliver? Or is Born Again destined to be another soulless attempt to cash in on nostalgia? The studio has already acknowledged their mistakes, but acknowledgement isn't enough. Actions speak louder than words, and if Daredevil, Born Again doesn't live up to expectations, it could be the final nail in the coffin for Marvel's once unshakable dominance in superhero storytelling. Fans are watching, and this time, they won't be so forgiving.
Yeah, so I had to go to LA to have a fitting, and I walk in. I can say this now. I walk in. I knew I wasn't going to wear it in Spider-Man. I knew that much. But whilst we were doing Spider-Man, we were getting ready to do She-Hulk. And so I had to go to LA to a fitting, and I walk in, and the suit is hanging there. But then there's a picture there's a drawing on the wall, and it has the gold and red. Then I was like, no way. It's funny because when you play the character this long, you're emotionally connected to the fans' response. So you see something like that, and it means something to you, but you know what it means, what it's gonna mean. Like you start to have a sense of how people are going to respond to that. So I saw that, and then they come in with it, and I'm like, oh man, this is unreal.
But behind the scenes, it was a different story. Insiders claim Cox was just as blindsided as the fans, realizing too late how drastically Daredevil had been watered down. His polite interviews masked a growing frustration, a frustration that became impossible to ignore when Born Against production was suddenly overhauled. Writers were fired, episodes scrapped, and the entire show was restructured to bring Daredevil back to his roots. Now, with Marvel scrambling to undo the damage, Cox is changing his tune. His latest interviews strike a different tone, less about She-Hulk's fun and more about honoring the essence of Daredevil. It's clear that even he knows fans won't tolerate another misstep. The question is, after all this backtracking, will audiences still believe Marvel's promises? Or is it too little, too late?
It feels like, that we have honored the dark tone of the original show, and that's very exciting and important to us. I feel like it's one of the things that makes this character work so well. Certainly, it's what I believe why the character it works so well in the comics.
Yeah.
When they embrace that darker tone.
So I would say the tone is going to be very similar, and I would say at times even deeper.
Vincent kind of said it really well. It is what we're trying to do with the show is tread a very careful line between playing the hits, getting the ingredients that we had that made the show work previously, but also not alienating a new audience, so that you don't have to remember everything that happened and all the characters that happened. Okay. All the characters from the previous show, so that we hopefully can attract a new audience and also welcome back our returning.
Marvel's attempt to undo the damage isn't just about getting Daredevil right. It's about salvaging the MCU's credibility with fans who have grown increasingly disillusioned. Born Again isn't just another reboot. It's a test to see if Marvel still understands what made their most successful projects work in the first place. The studio has already taken drastic measures, from firing the original showrunners and writers to scrapping nearly the entire first batch of episodes and starting over. Kevin Feige and his team know that Daredevil is one of the last remaining characters with real fan loyalty. Unlike newer MCU heroes struggling to gain traction, Matt Murdock comes with an audience that expects depth, grit, and storytelling that doesn't rely on constant quips. The challenge now is proving that Marvel is capable of delivering that again. Charlie Cox's new stance isn't just PR spin, it's an indicator of where Born Again is headed. His shift from defending She-Hulk to emphasizing Daredevil's return to form speaks volumes. Even Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Wilson Fisk, has echoed this sentiment, reassuring fans that Born Again will bring back the intensity and grounded storytelling that made Daredevil special. But is it too little too late? The MCU is in a fragile place, suffering from a string of disappointments, from Secret Invasion to the Marvels. Many fans have checked out entirely, fed up with forced humor, inconsistent writing, and a lack of creative vision. Born Again could be the redemption arc Marvel desperately needs, or the final nail in the coffin. With the show's 2025 release on the horizon, all eyes are on how Marvel handles Daredevil's rebirth. Will Born Again be the brutal, emotionally complex series fans crave, or will it fall into the same traps that have plagued the MCU's recent projects? One thing's for sure, this time, fans aren't just hoping Marvel gets it right. They're demanding it. Instead, Cox is making it clear that Born Again is a return to the real Daredevil, the brutal, relentless, morally complex hero fans fell in love with. He doesn't need to outright condemn She-Hulk because the message is already obvious. Marvel is walking back its mistake. The studio has quietly erased any reference to Matt Murdock's lighthearted detour, refocusing on the qualities that made Daredevil one of the most respected superhero adaptations ever. Cox's interviews have shifted from defending past choices to doubling down on Bourne Again's commitment to authenticity, grit, and real stakes, the very things She-Hulk ignored. He knows what fans expect, and more importantly, he knows Marvel cannot afford to get this wrong again.
Murdock Daredevil is a little bit more lighthearted, is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek and playful and silly and of course, if you don't do that, if you come into a show like She-Hulk and you don't do that, then you become the butt of the jokes. You're too serious. You're not,
right.
So you've got to kind of adapt to the world a little bit and the tone a little bit. And I haven't seen the whole episode yet, but from what I'm told and what my feeling is that it can exist in that place, and it is still fun, and it's still truthful. It's still the same character, but in the same way that any human being, some days are very serious and down on their luck and a bit heavy-hearted, and other times they're being silly and playful and having a lot of fun, and there's a lot of joy in their life. That's true with a human, so why can't it be true for a superhero?
To spectacle, quantity overtook quality, and beloved characters were either sidelined, misused, or outright replaced with hollow stand-ins. Instead of crafting meaningful arcs, Marvel chased trends, prioritizing forced humor and subverting expectations over emotional depth. The result? A string of underwhelming projects that alienated longtime fans and failed to bring in new ones. Now, Daredevil, Born Again is Marvel's shot at redemption, a chance to prove they still understand what made the MCU great in the first place. But is it too late? Can Marvel regain the trust of audiences who have grown weary of flashy, soulless content? Cox's return to a darker, more grounded Daredevil is a step in the right direction, but whether it's enough to reverse Marvel's downward spiral remains to be seen. Box office bombs, dwindling Disney Plus subscriptions, and plummeting merchandise sales have forced Marvel to acknowledge what they long ignored. Fans want strong storytelling, not hollow virtue signaling. The excuse that criticism stems from bigotry no longer holds when even die-hard Marvel supporters are turning away. Now, with Daredevil, Born Again, the studio is attempting a quiet course correction. The emphasis is back on grit, character depth, and the raw storytelling that once made the MCU unstoppable. But whether this is a genuine return to form or just another desperate attempt to win back lost goodwill remains to be seen. Marvel has spent years alienating its core audience. Earning back their trust won't be easy.
A character, I've been playing him over 10 years. Yeah. He gets older, which is disconcerting. No one warned me about that. What's weird about it is in 2018, when the show was cancelled, I had like a mourning period because we thought we were going to do a season 4, and then that didn't happen. And it kind of overnight, we got a phone call that was like, "We're done. It's finished." It felt like a breakup, a little bit, in a kind of a weird way. And then, like all breakups, obviously we got back together. But now I'm aware that there will presumably come a time where it really does stop. The longer it goes on, the harder it will be to let go. When we were at New York Comic Con, I was chatting to a couple of the Daredevil writers, Daredevil team, comic team, and they're getting ready to release a Daredevil series, a comic that takes place where Matt Murdock is in his 60s. So I was like, oh, okay, great. Great. So we got some...
A test to see if the studio can still deliver what made them great in the first place. Compelling characters, high-stakes storytelling, and genuine emotional depth. Fans won't be fooled by cheap callbacks or surface-level dark and gritty marketing. They want proof that Marvel understands what made Daredevil special, that they're not just reacting to backlash, but truly committed to fixing their mistakes. If Born Again succeeds, it could mark the beginning of Marvel's redemption. If it fails, it might just confirm what many already fear. that the golden age of the MCU is long gone.
What does it feel like to know that your Daredevil made such an impact on people that was literally like the only thing people want to talk about in terms of any of these projects? They're like, yeah, but is Daredevil in this one?
I'm horrified by any kind of form of flattery. It's like, it's a little embarrassing. And so when you get a reaction like that, it's like, it just feels surreal. Like, you can't quite imagine it. Yeah. I feel really emotional. It's a bizarre experience to have played this character, to have the experiences I've had with this character and the journey that we've been on with the show, for that to be finished and ended, and it's in my mind and heart, it's over. And then to be yanked back in, and suddenly we're starting again, and it's all happening again, and it feels like a dream. Yeah. It feels a bit like a dream.
Popping up in Echo, and then... Are you?
I don't know, am I?
I thought that was the...
She-Hulk. No. Great, apparently I'm in Echo, am I?
That's what I've heard.
I don't know.
I thought that was confirmed.
I haven't heard that.
Okay, but we are confirmed for Daredevil Born Again.
We are.
Which is what, 18 episodes?
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? What have you guys started?
I know what everyone else knows, which is a great feeling because I can't spoil anything. I met some of the writers last night for the first time. I haven't read anything. I'm psyched to discover what stories they're going to tell over that long period of time. Tonally, what it's going to be like. How is it different? How is it the same? Kevin has been very clear about it being season 1. Mm-hmm. So not a season 4, so yeah. It's a whole new deal. And in a way, what's great about that is that we potentially get to tell some of the stories over and over again. Yeah. In the same way that they do in the comics, every now and again they stop back at the beginning of Murdoch's journey as a little boy and they tell the whole origin story again. So maybe we'll get to do that.
For Marvel, Daredevil, Born Again isn't just another Disney Plus project. It's a test. A test to see if they can still capture the magic that made the MCU a global phenomenon. A test to prove they understand what fans actually want. And most importantly, a test to see if they can undo years of damage caused by corporate meddling, formulaic storytelling, and tone-deaf creative decisions. The signs are promising, but the stakes are higher than ever. The studio has reworked the series from the ground up, cutting filler, refocusing on what made Daredevil great, and ensuring that Matt Murdock's return isn't just a gimmick, but a meaningful revival of his character. They're avoiding She-Hulk's mistakes. No forced humor, no tonal whiplash, and certainly no reducing Matt Murdock to a punchline. But is it enough? Fans have been burned too many times. After Secret Invasion's failure, the Marvel's box office flop, and years of uninspired Disney Plus content, trust in the MCU is at an all-time low. If Born Again doesn't deliver, it won't just be a failed show. It could be the final nail in the coffin for Marvel's dominance.
On the day that these two characters somehow work together, they somehow made sense. They have they irritate each other and also are attracted to each other in a classic sort of rom-com way. But also to see Charlie bring the kind of level of play and goofiness that he did to that character, it was just so it's just the best thing to experience. And of course you fall in love with him.
Oh my God, did they?
Even the usual defense of blaming angry fanboys fell apart when women joined the criticism. Female fans who had admired Jennifer Walters in the comics were frustrated by her shallow, smug portrayal in She-Hulk. They weren't rejecting a female-led story. They were rejecting bad storytelling. These were viewers who wanted strong female heroes, but found themselves alienated by the show's preachy, self-congratulatory tone. Marvel's strategy of dismissing backlash as misogyny had worked before. Ghostbusters, 2016, was framed as a victim of sexism rather than uninspired writing. The Last Jedi's divisive reception was brushed off as toxic fandom instead of a rejection of weak character arcs. But this time was different. She-Hulk wasn't just criticized by the so-called toxic male fanbase. It was rejected by casual viewers, longtime MCU fans, and even female audiences who expected better. The reality was simple. Audiences weren't rejecting female superheroes. They were rejecting lazy scripts, forced humor, and shows that seemed more interested in lecturing them than entertaining them.
To answer for. And you in the case.
And you are not helpful here at all.
I feel like this is going to land better coming from me. Look, we got plenty of time to switch things up and let me do the closing.
Dennis, you aren't aware of this, but I will kill you and Jen will prosecute you. Because I can do a murder. Bye, Dennis.
You're going to listen to a paralegal over another lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay, this is
That's so good.
I'm disappointed.
Steve Rogers did not have a girlfriend before he went into the service.
Says who?
The History Channel. So he becomes Captain America. And from that moment on, a symbol of America, he is rushed to the front lines. He becomes a war hero.
All you're doing is repeating everything that I've already told you about my friend and colleague.
Obviously, Captain America was first.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Okay, that was me. The inhibitor. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
You with anyone?
I'm waiting for my ride.
What's your name?
I think my boyfriend's just...
Oh, come on. Where you going? Let us keep you company.
We're just being friendly.
Yeah, where you going? So, what, you two gonna talk to us?
My blood got into your system, and after the wreck, and you got a lethal dose of gamma radiation.
Lethal? As in I'm gonna die?
No, there was more to it that I'm going to explain.
That is not the sentence to take a pause on, Bruce.
Okay.
Damn!
I've been analyzing your blood, and the way it synthesized gamma, I was able to use it to completely heal my arm.
Oh. Because I'm better than you?
This is basically different.
In a better way.
Just shut the fuck up!
Smug Hulk.
Smart Hulk.
Well, it's pretty smug to call yourself smart.
Motherfucker, please.
This is huge, and I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling? I'm feeling. You don't have another guy to wrestle with for 10 years.
Perfect.
Let your thoughts drift away, relax your neck, bend your knees if that's more comfortable, hold in your farts.
Presence. About accepting the situation you're in.
Oh, I thought it was about getting my butt tight as hell. Up, dog. Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Boy, if you don't...
Bruce?
Did my client know lives would be endangered? That is debatable and depends on your definition of knowing.
Don't screw this up, Walters.
Clip 10. Audiences had a valid point. She doubled down, dismissing criticism as sexism and claiming that people just couldn't handle a confident female lead. But that wasn't the issue. Fans weren't against She-Hulk being a strong woman. They were against her being written as a shallow, condescending caricature. In the comics, Jennifer Walters was confident, charismatic, and genuinely likable. She embraced her powers, maintained meaningful relationships, and navigated her dual life with intelligence and humor. The show, however, turned her into a self-absorbed character whose biggest struggle was dating and proving she was superior to men. The worst example of this disconnect was the infamous incel rant. In one of the most tone-deaf moments of the series, Jennifer stood in front of Bruce Banner, a man who had been hunted, experimented on, exiled, and nearly driven to suicide, and claimed she understood anger better than he did because of catcalling. Marvel intended this to be a powerful feminist moment, but it became a meme instead. Not because people didn't get it, but because the execution was so oblivious and self-indulgent that it felt like parody. And that's the real danger Marvel faces. Fans have been patient, some might say, too patient. They stuck around through the post-Endgame slump, gave projects like Moon Knight and Loki a chance, and even held out hope that misfires like Quantumania were just bumps in the road. But now, there's a growing sense that the magic is gone, that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is no longer a must-watch event, but a factory churning out forgettable content. Daredevil, Born Again isn't just about Matt Murdock. It's a symbol of Marvel's ability, or inability, to listen, learn, and evolve. It represents a chance to prove they still understand character depth, meaningful stakes, and storytelling that respects the intelligence of their audience. The decision to scrap the original courtroom-heavy script, fire the showrunners, and completely restructure the series is unprecedented for Marvel. It shows they know they messed up. But knowing and fixing are two different things. The reality is, Marvel no longer has a guaranteed audience. Fans who once bought tickets on blind faith now hesitate. Disney Plus series that were once hyped are now met with skepticism. And if Born Again fails, if it falls into the same shallow traps as She-Hulk, fans won't just be disappointed, they'll be done. Because at this point, Marvel isn't just fighting to save Daredevil. They're fighting to save themselves. Now, with Daredevil, Born Again, Marvel has a rare opportunity to make things right. This isn't just about damage control, it's about proving they still know how to tell a compelling story. Fans aren't asking for much. They don't need forced humor, unnecessary reinventions, or corporate-mandated messaging. They just want Daredevil to be Daredevil, a gritty, complex hero navigating a world that doesn't pull its punches. That's why Born Again is a critical moment for Marvel. If they succeed, they might begin the long road to regaining audience trust. If they fail, it won't just be another misfire. It will be proof that the MCU's best days are behind it. Marvel finds itself at a crossroads. For years, the studio rode an unstoppable wave of success, turning even lesser-known characters into box office icons. But that era is over. The failures of recent projects have made one thing clear. Audiences won't show up for empty spectacle and forced messaging. They want substance, compelling narratives, and characters who feel real. Daredevil, Born Again is Marvel's chance to prove they're still capable of delivering that. But if they fall back on the same mistakes, if they water down the character, sideline emotional depth for quippy humor, or disregard what made Daredevil special, then even the most loyal fans may walk away for good. This isn't just another reboot. It's a last chance to show they're still listening.